Welcome to the Solution of Real Estate podcast, where myself, Phil Sexton, and my co-host,
Jeff Seaback,
come together with a glass table and a couple of microphones between us to talk about what timely topics have come across our desk in the wonderful world of real estate. We do this with a live studio audience via Zoom. If you want to join our live studio audience, like Eric, like Bernadette, like Adam, like Nina, like Linda from Vegas have done, then go to realestateLeopard.com, and we've got a box you can put your phone number in so that we'll text you the link when we go live. But today's topic is a little bit, I like this topic.
It's edgier, yeah.
It's how agents get paid for adding listings to the MLS.
Wow.
So
first of all, is it possible today, do we get a check when we enter our listing? Since Adam's our manager, do checks show up when we list houses in MLS today?
Unfortunately not.
No, that is not a money-making activity. Okay. That is not a dollar-producing activity.
So this is a futuristic podcast.
Okay, yeah,
right,
future.
All right.
So this podcast is talking about, actually, I think the reason why we're on this topic now is because the RESO conference that just happened last week.
Okay, so those of you that are not tech geeks, there's an organization out there called the Real Estate Standards Organization, a la RESO, Real Estate Standards Organization, that is supported by NAR or funded by NAR. And their goal is to, because we have about 600 different MLSs around the country, and all the MLSs are on different platforms. And their goal is to get everybody standardized, to use one common language, right? Because, you know, if anyone's been listening to this podcast for any length of time, they know that I am just disgusted with the level of technology in the business. So obviously we are pro for it, their drive to try and standardize it and to get to a certain level of technology, because that's what it is there's a lot of laggards in MLS, a lot of old software. And I actually thought that our software is old because I've been using it for 14 years and it hasn't been updated. I don't know if I'm calling the kettle black there or not, but you know, my computer that I use, I had to throw out once it became more than 8 years old. So 14 years old, you know, but so this idea came up, meaning where we learned this conversation is because we attended the RESO conference, and we started looking online and we found what, Phil?
We found conversations from the RESO CEO, from the FBS CEO, the Flex MLS is the system, is the software that we use in the Phoenix marketplace.
And it's used in other marketplaces
and other marketplaces across the country. So their owner, Mike Werzer, was talking about it. Rob Hahn, which is a national industry,
who I had dinner with on Thursday night.
Yes, he's talking about the conversation as well. And that is that the RESO initiative to make data standard across the country is going to NAR's mid-year conference to be voted on. Okay, and so they are going to finally make a vote on the fact that
they came out with the MLSs came out with I think it's the Council of MLS. CMLS has come out with something called, what's the docket? Leap.
Okay.
Right. LEAP.
Ooh, yeah. I don't know that acronym.
Okay, but Leap is a movement which in the world of MLSs, because there's 600 of them, not everybody's on the same page, but this movement from the council, which is the chosen elites of everybody in MLSs, they wanted to advance the language and basically force all the people that were not keeping up with the standards. And because they're going to make a major vote, because it has to go to NAR, and there's 4 different levels of NAR, ending in the executive committee, all voting, because you have the brokers council and the blah 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 council that votes. And I mean, it's complex. It's no wonder why we are not moving anywhere, because really, I don't know how anything gets through the gauntlet of like there's just no way, right? Anyway, but they said, if we're going to redo that, we have to make a decision of should we, because the people that are pushing LEAP to standardize the language, if I'm understanding right, have not considered adding a license.
A license?
A license to use the data.
Okay.
Right? Because they compare it to what they do is they compare MLSs and around the country to a town. And they're saying that should there be a fee for using the town, the roads, right? Like it's not common that every city has, our city does not. Does Arizona
We have roads.
Toll roads.
Toll roads? Oh.
When I go to California,
toll roads,
and I want to drive on the toll road, I pay the toll fee. Actually,
fast track?
Yeah, fast track. Yeah. But I have a Tesla, so they don't charge me as much. So,
Great.
yeah. But the point of it is that should there, because this conversation of getting paid, how would it occur, would come from a license.
All right. So, and the way that I kind of understand all of this coming down is that because LEAP and RESO and NAR is going to be presented with voting on standardizing the data, what Mike Werzer has come out to say is if you're going to put something in front of NAR for a vote, which is obviously very hard to get things moved through NAR with votes of, to move things forward. He says, don't just standardize the data. You're missing the piece, which is where you brought up licensing. He's like, why don't we also include licensing agreements, licensing contracts for how that data is going to be used? Meaning it's great to standardize it so that everybody can use it. But if your business is to provide back-end tools to real estate brokerages, then your licensing fee would be X. If your business is to use that data to do lead generation to compete with listing agents, let's just call that like realtor.com, for example, then your licensing fee should be Y. And what I think our push with Real Estate Leopard is that the licensing fees that he's talking about, which we support, I don't think go far enough. What we would like to see is that those licensing fees don't just go back to the brokerages that provide the listings into the MLS, but that those licensing fees actually make it all the way down to the realtor who's in the living room that is taking the listing. That's where we came up with the title today. The debate is how do we get paid for putting our data? If our data is so valuable that we put it into the MLS, and now we've got these licensing fees that these companies are willing to pay, I'm guessing millions of dollars to aggregate all of this data to create these big lead gen systems, then how is it not fair that the realtor that's in the living room that gets that listing is the one that actually sees some of that revenue?
Well, I'll take the other side of that, because their argument is that it is fair because you actually, when you take an agreement, it's with the broker, not with the agent. So then it comes down to that argument of, wait a minute, why is the only recognized component of the real estate system as far as agents, teams, or brokers, meaning brokers? Because I believe that when that agreement, much like the Congress and all that agreement was made a long time ago, and there wasn't teams. And there wasn't elite agents. I mean, there was obviously elite agents, but the elite agents did 25 deals or 30 deals, and you were elite. Now the elite agents, if you go to Real Trends, does 300, 400. So it increases their influence without any recognition. And that's what we're pushing with Leopard, is because who owns the data, right? So because in today's world, it's kind of like college athletics where you can just enter the transfer portal to move from one college to the other. And now everybody's running all over the place. It is easy to move brokerages. I mean, there's more difficulty the longer you've been there, but it's not hard to, I mean, I was fired in an overnight thing, and I was asked to leave my brokerage, meaning it's not like it's difficult to leave brokerages. So if someone wasn't getting recognition from because it's all about contribution.
Okay.
And then it's about aggregation. Well, all right. So, but to start this argument,
All
but to clarify for the
I'm
people,
trying to,
because
I'm trying to consume what you're saying
Yeah.
so that
Well,
I can help clarify.
Okay, let's start. First of all, let's talk about 2006. Because this is not a new concept. They had this choice before, and that's, if you've ever heard me say it, it's they gave away the keys to the castle is usually what it starts with when I'm talking.
Okay.
And that's why everybody's listening today, is because lots of people are making money off of we spend money to get listings, and then someone else gets the more benefit from those listings from the aggregation of the data than we do.
Yeah.
But the guy in ReMax, the general counsel, said it's basically this. Prior at the time, let's just say, everybody familiar with potluck? Has anyone been to a potluck?
I've been to a potluck.
Bernadette,
Yeah.
Can you raise your
Yeah,
hand?
yeah.
You've been to a potluck? Right.
Bernadette hosts potlucks.
No,
Oh, no,
okay, all right,
I was
but
wrong.
Bernadette, if we invited you to a potluck, what dish would you make?
I'm trying to read her lips because
Potato
she's trying.
salad, press the button.
Oh, no, green bean casserole. Eric, you're next.
Hold on, Bernadette.
Barbecue ribs.
Barbecue ribs.
we're-
Oh, she's coming to our potluck.
What is it, Friday yet? Because Friday in our office, we want you to come over and make some barbecue ribs, because that sounds awesome. I love that.
Eric, what's your potluck
Dude, and
dish?
hey, spot on for the answer, right? Like, that was awesome. Eric, what do you got? What are you bringing potluck?
You got to find that mute button first, though. We'll come to, and if I see Nina unmute herself, we'll come to
Or
you
Linda.
next.
Okay,
Eric?
now you can hear me. The only thing that comes to mind is deviled eggs, but I can't eat them because
We
I,
need that.
we
We
eat
love
deviled eggs, though.
love
We
deviled
eat
eggs.
deviled
Great
eggs.
job,
Yes, good.
Eric.
That's
All
good.
right.
What a selfless thing to bring to a potluck.
He can't
Something
eat
that
them,
you
but
can't eat.
I know, but I love deviled eggs.
I do
and
too.
He must have heard
I
that.
did
wonder
all my life, and then I had an unfortunate incident when I was in the car business, and Riverside Auto Watch in Manheim, they were giving out all these deviled eggs all the time. Well, I went to In-N-Out afterwards and got pink lemonade, and pink lemonade and deviled eggs do not mix.
Noted.
I got very
know,
sick.
You even got Brandy and Linda to laugh on that one, Eric.
I got very sick the next day and a half.
Linda, how about you? Are you bringing pink lemonade to the potluck?
No, not now. No, I'm bringing enchiladas and margaritas.
Oh, yeah. Wow. I can. Did you eat lunch yet?
I am hungry. I mean, this is
Yes.
great.
Wow,
Right?
all right.
Nina, what are you going to bring?
Beer and chile con queso.
Beer and chili con queso.
I love the Mexican theme.
I know.
Yeah.
We're writing. You're writing a menu right now.
I got. Are you getting barbecue ribs?
Enchiladas.
Are you originally
margaritas,
from
beer?
Texas, Bernadette?
No, Philadelphia.
Oh, me too.
Philadelphia.
All right,
Oh,
all right,
right
good
in
deal. All right, okay. But anyway, so the ReMax General Counsel, just to bring it all together for people, said there's two kinds of people at our party. There are the people that bring the dishes, and they use it to obviously service everybody that comes. Like like the idea of the people that bring the dishes is they were using the data to help their existing clients. Okay, that's the dish people.
Yeah.
And now we're letting people that are not bringing dishes, we're letting them bring a fork.
That's the opposite of Eric.
Right. This is the complete opposite of Eric, where there's people that are bringing the fork where they're just using it, and those people are using it for client acquisition, not client servicing. And
Yes.
they called those the ReMax guys, those are the fork people, is that this agreement didn't distinguish who is got the fork, because is it unfair to the dish people that are like conceivably Keller Williams, ReMax, EXP,
Well, West USA.
West USA, we're all bringing our listings, which is bringing our dishes to the
MLS.
party.
Yep.
And then they're taking the data and making the agreement to send it out without any compensation. And then they're using it to acquire customers. Let's
to
just
compete with the people who have brought the dishes.
right, because we actually also a little bit, because he was like, well, as long as you're bringing lots of dishes to the party, I don't think it's so bad if you're using it to bring on clients because you're bringing dishes and everybody's getting the benefit from your listings. So then they get the also benefit of client acquisition and nobody cares. But now we'll go with HomeLight and Realtor.com and Zillow are maybe not are using it more for client acquisition. Homes.com, now that it was purchased by CoStar, right? Like these companies, should there be a license is where our conversation is now fully gotten to.
Yes. And the challenge is that,
And thank you for Michael Werzer for recommending it.
dude, Mike Werzer, I mean, that's the thing is when you hear it out there, when you see it out there, you're like, yes, this is a piece of the puzzle that we have been pushing for, right? But we don't want it to stop at the broker level. That's it. I mean, ultimately, what would happen if licensing gets included in that vote? Like, let's just say
brokers would make more money.
The magic happens where the brokers make more money, but then the smart brokers or the new broker models or the ones that actually bring that money in would then pass along that savings or that money in some form or fashion to their listing agents.
Okay, but what I think would happen is
Unless the rules prohibit it.
I think there's going to be a different thing that's going to happen as well as that.
Okay.
And that is not that you thought that 110 broker offices across the United States,
110?
110,000.
110,000. Okay.
Is that right? Is that it? It's like it's roughly around.
Yeah.
It's roughly around 100,000. So there's 100,000 broker would actually go up, not down, is what I think would happen. Because then because as a broker, whatever you supply, you're going to get credit for. So it would push more people.
It would push more teams to become boutique brokers.
Right.
Because now you're not getting the value.
Right.
But
maybe that's a sales point too.
Yeah, but the big brokers that's why the big brokers are gonna share it because they don't want to lose the teams.
It will force the hand. Right. No, but that's the action. I was just bringing out different ideas that would, were futuristic.
This is all futuristic
Right.
because what Michael's pushing for is just that licensing exists and we're for it. We think that that's a good idea.
I know, but there's another point to this that we haven't discussed.
Let's hear it.
And that's Michael's argument is the data alone, right? Like if you have 10 listings,
like my one listing,
let's
just say my one,
let's just say the CBOC team's 236 listings last year. Okay. Because there was 10,000 or 100,000 listings. We're still a very small piece of this very, very, very massive pie.
Yes.
So
our 236
he said,
is not valuable.
Correct. Right. So he said because it's the aggregation of the data that leads to the multiple of the value, right?
Yes.
It multiplies the value. So then
right now, the crazy part about it is right now, all the 600 different MLSs all have data that they send out with different quirks about them, different definitions, different fields, different this, different that.
Well, that's why we need RESO.
So if you're the national portals, like, I don't know, let's call them realtor.com or HomeLight, you've got to, and you want to consume the data from all 600, you've got to have programmers that are constantly watching how these 600 different MLSs update, tweak, change what their data fields are so that your tool works. And if you think about it, if RESO comes out and is successful at standardizing that, the value of standardized national data, when you think about it from an aggregate standpoint, now that it's not just the RMLS, it's the aggregate, it's the country that all listens to the same rules. The value of that thing just goes like home prices in Phoenix.
I'm not as bullish on that. I'm glad you are.
Yes, because
it's easy.
The whole push forward is to advance technological tools. It's too expensive to be in all the MLSs right now.
But it makes it cheaper for the vendors.
Agreed. No question.
Right,
All
so-
the
so-
vendors that develop technology to help us in our business or to compete against us, whatever it is, it's across the board, the goods and the bads.
Well, the other thing is what they've said, if you've read up, I'm assuming that you guys are here because we do all the reading and then we share it with you. But the other thing is because if you're a broker, you could have basically it's a profit play for the brokers to push that, because the larger brokers have to deal with too many. It's like, imagine trying to,
All the technology.
imagine if we had to take this podcast and convert it into 127 different languages.
It wouldn't happen.
Right, but that's what their argument is for the large brokers, is you understand that's what they're dealing with now, and that's why their brokerages profit at about 3%, and that's part of it is because of the
amount of staff that you have to employ in order to translate the data to work with the systems that you've developed is high, and they're trying to get it standardized so that their costs go down so their profit can go up. But let's go with, that's the main reason why they're running forward with the flag. But there's a bunch of people that are in the wake of that point that hope it happens.
It's just change, and change
Yes.
causes consternation at every level. But it's why we want to throw our hat in the ring, because we're like, wait a minute, hold on. There's somebody that's not being recognized in this fight.
Who is that?
Teams and elite agents, because I don't think the brokers are gonna.
Yes,
We're
the
the one
realtors.
that's the realtors are collecting the data.
Yeah.
Like there's
Yeah.
you know, I mean, and I appreciate Michael Werzer bringing it up, but that point about aggregation is, you know, it's pretty hard not to, you know, reward the corn pickers, right? Like there's still like, I love sports analogies.
I know, I'm trying to get to corn pickers. Which one was that? Was
Well,
that the
No,
realtors?
We're the realtors. Yeah.
Got it.
Like we're
We are in the living rooms competing
I was just in
with-
there. I was just in
with
the living room. Yeah.
commissions. Like we're competing with value. We're trying to bring value to our clients so that they hire us at the fees that we request. Right? Like we're in the trenches having those conversations about value, not the brokers, the agents. And that's where it's like, doesn't it just make sense to have that person that's in there, that's the one that is determining what they get paid?
Well, let me give you
to-
one
to-
stat.
if they didn't value from that data, then they would continue to charge the consumer more money. And if this is a podcast about how we put the consumer first, part of our goal is, if this data is so valuable that companies are willing to pay for it, we can then charge the consumers less if we take those listings.
If you're a client first realtor, you would charge.
True,
people
obviously
less.
some people are really like, great, I just
Well,
filled
I mean,
I just got a nicer car.
But
But
I think the realization is that if you know
Eric's got his hand up.
all right, Eric, go ahead.
Eric, let me do this real quick. I want to get to your question, but first let's take a quick commercial break and we'll be right back. Okay, you ready, Eric? Thank you for waiting so patiently. What is your question?
Well, I've noticed that in the listings, I collect data from all 31 cities in the Phoenix metro area and 7 neighborhoods every month. I've been doing it for 3.5 years, so I can
Sounds like
see
Jeff
the
Seabot.
commissions. Oh, can you hear me?
Yes.
He
Okay.
didn't mean to
I
interrupt you.
can,
Go
I
ahead.
can see that the commissions that are luxury and over $1 million, more of those are still over 3%. But when you go below 600,000, 2.5 now is the normal, because it doesn't take a rocket scientist right now because of our such low levels of inventory to sell a house. We all agree with that. But
Yeah,
when
and
you
Eric,
start getting into more specialized properties,
let's
like
just
an
push
air
pause on
freight
you for
or-
a second, Eric, because one of the things that I want to make sure we stay far away from is having any antitrust issues with there being normal commissions. Like this date, there is no such thing as a normal commission. When you go into a listing appointment, you negotiate for yourself, and it is not standard, it is not set. So I don't want
I
to
think
even
he was just
go down
reporting
that
the
path.
data, but good point.
I agree that we can report data, but how we talk about it, like I have been the fear of the Sherman
Phil's
antitrust.
on the MLS standards committee, and he has heard. He's been
The
warned.
fear of
God.
the God of God. I don't want to talk about standard. There's
Okay.
no standard commission.
All right, but
But
Eric,
thank you
did you
for
have
that
a
point.
point where you're going with it? Yes.
Yeah, I'm just saying that you see more, there's more 2.5s now co-broke than there was 3 years ago. That's for sure.
Well,
Because there's
we'll just
because
go with
there's more
this.
pressure on downward commission.
Yeah, no, it's called commission compression and
Right.
it is occurring. So we'll just go with that.
Great.
And I don't
Yeah.
think that anyone would disagree. And you threw out some specifics, but it's just, yes, we agree there is definite commission compression that is being exacerbated by the low supply. Because there is commission compression before, because what to me, if you were in my meetings, so you remember the purple bricks and the homies and the low commission promotion,
The
and
low
then
commission
and then
companies
add in the
that-
iBuyers.
the low commission companies that have millions of dollars to spend on marketing to change the consumer's minds of what it's like to sell a house.
And then you add in the iBuyer spend, which is now OfferPad, Open Door, Doug Hopkins, and Zillow promoting that it's so easy. You just click a button to sell your house. That also causes commission compression. And we're just jumping on the bandwagon.
Yeah. So why are we here on commission compression?
Well, I wanted to hear what Eric's point was. So
No, I think that his point is that we're talking about lower commission because it's interesting that us realtors in the living rooms are the ones that are getting squeezed while the big companies that are using the data that we provide them seem to be making more money now than before.
Well, but I think it's because of the perceived guarantee commission offered to the buyer's agent. Obviously, we heard that, and not realizing that puts pressure on the listing agent's commission because the client wants lower commission, and if they have to guarantee that's why there's lawsuits about it. Is that part of it? It's hard because that was one of our conversations that we think that's going to change, but that is really, it's hard because
here's what let me back up for a second. The reason why we've announced Leopard, right? The National Association of Real Estate Teams, is because we see that the agents that are in the living rooms are the head of
$17 trillion
$17 trillion industry, where we go into the conversations, we're having meetings with the homeowners, we take that data, we put it into a system, and then that creates a whole lot of business and profit for companies. And we believe that us agents, the elite performers, should have a voice in what happens with that data.
Right.
That's the whole way we got to this.
Right. So our argument is if you want to learn more about Leopard, just go to realestateleopard.com or go to Facebook and put Real Estate Leopard in to check out our Facebook page, because that's where we're interested in hearing any feedback of anybody at any time regarding it. But collectively, we could control 50% of the listings. And if we band together cross brokerage is the only way that we can get a voice so that we can make the demands, because we have to act together, arm in arm. We have to act together across the country. And that's where we're at with this, is because we're being ignored because we allow ourselves to be spread out.
Yes, the brokers are all these individual silos that then the brokers get together to figure out what the rules are of our industry. And we're the agents. Like, we see the MLS data be more valuable when it's aggregated together. When you put all of the listings together, it's worth more. And that's what we're talking about from an elite agent standpoint, is if the elite agents work together, then we have more voice, more power to have change. And
I think I saw a hand up in the crowd.
All right,
Eric.
Yeah. Okay. So, but if you're a buyer's agent and you're doing specialty stuff like homes with an RV garage, and then you start looking at land lots and you start looking at educating the consumers on how to get a construction loan, now you've entered a niche and where people will respect you and stay with you, versus just being a 300,000-400,000 in Southeast Gilbert or Sanchan Valley or Buckeye or wherever, where any agent can sell that home or help them buy that home. But if you start specializing in certain areas of types of homes, or you know where I'm getting
Yeah,
from?
no, you get
People
the
see
leverage.
value. But being a listing agent, what value does someone else have over somebody else? Just because, like,
Well,
you guys sell lots of houses, but I'm an individual agent, so what what makes me any different than you guys or vice versa? That's
Well,
the
here-
problem.
Great comment. So what you're,
Perceived
and,
problem.
and I couldn't agree more with Eric, because what's going to happen though is, Eric, is you're going to have the credibility to be able to get them to sign a buyer broker agreement, right? But the point
So
that you bring up,
negotiate your commissions
I,
regardless of the co-broke offer.
but the point that I think, let me tell me if I heard you right. You said, why does the listing agent
differ in value.
differ in value?
He said they're all this. His
Right.
comment was they're
Right.
potentially all the same.
Well, right. And I would just like to introduce that was my exact question in 2005 for myself, was how am I going to differentiate myself as a realtor? And actually our goal, Phil knows this because we were part of it, in 2018 and 19, our goal was to sell as many houses as we could outside of MLS. Because if you relied on MLS as a listing agent, to me, you had less value to the consumer, because then you really are
Just put it in MLS.
just put it in
Lower the
MLS,
price.
right?
Like
So
a
Eric,
computer can do
would
that.
you agree, if you didn't need the MLS to sell houses, then you actually were marketing the houses, and then you would have more value than someone that's just relying on MLS?
I see him nodding. I can't hear him because he's on mute, but I think he's agreeing with you, Jeff.
Okay.
Let's see if he'll unmute here. Eric, you're muted.
Unmute.
I'm sorry. Kenny Klaus even has his own company where he's doing, he's acting like an iBuyer. So he's trying to compete against Open Door and OfferPad in his market down here in East Mesa and Santan Valley and so forth.
Yeah, no,
But
Very
he's
good
got
point.
deep pockets to do that kind of stuff. But I'm
Oh,
just saying, for a normal listing agent, what do we have? How can we show the consumer what our value is versus somebody else?
That's
Versus
the game,
another
man.
listing agent?
That's how is
the
Coke
problem.
better than Pepsi?
yeah.
That's the game.
No, I mean, to me, I think the key, I'll throw out one thing, but that's not today's topic, so I won't go too long. I think the key, my key was becoming a house expert and to point out to people things that could improve their house to get more money, like cosmetic things to improve. So thank you for that, Eric.
Bernadette, you had unmuted yourself. Did you have a comment? I know. Nope, you're good. Okay, great. All right.
Maybe she was just talking to her husband that came home.
I saw that. I know. Yeah. It was nice to have him join us as well.
But the
Bernadette.
point is to rally the base, right? Like to rally the base, because
Yes.
we need to band together collectively,
Yes.
or we're not part of this conversation. So we're asking each of you, if you please go out and tell 5 friends, like, to visit Real Estate Leopard, because if we can band together, because the other thing with Leopard is what we're trying to do is we're trying to raise the standards so that there's, an actual standard in real estate. Because then we won't have to worry about it, Eric, is people will be flowing to us because they'll know we're experts versus not being able to distinguish. I mean, obviously he made a point though of showing how he's differentiated himself to build value for his clients. And that's what it's about.
Right. Amen. Well, I think
So-
that you hinted at standards, and maybe we get into them next week, because it's not just one standard. We're talking about performance standards, training standards, talking about apprenticeship, talking about NPS scores or the consumer reviews. Like, there's a list that we have put together, because it's interesting, Jeff, that we all pay the same dues to be a member of NAR, right? Like, we all pay the same amount of dues, and we all technically get the same amount of services, but the majority of agents don't sell any houses.
So
The
are they,
majority
get-
of agents,
are they getting robbed, or are we?
they are. In that analogy, because if we sell 500 houses and they
So
sell
why are
zero,
you bitching?
I'm just saying that it's interesting that the rule, because the ones that are in charge are trying to make sure that they protect the zeros as well. And they
Well,
actually are
okay,
in the
but-
business of having more zeros.
Well, because the paying of MLS comes with the requirement, but it also means that they have the ability to recruit with that behind them. If you want to be a part of a brokerage, which gets you access to MLS, you have to sign up with a brokerage.
Right. Yes.
So they're, so
They're not in the government is not in the business of reducing the number of licensees because they're dues driven. NAR is not
How
in the
is the
business.
government making money?
How is the
The licensing department. Oh, because they want to keep printing money off of the
if they charge $1 for a license and they have 100 licensees, they make $100. If they've got
Well,
10,000 licensees,
is that why they don't?
they
Is
got
that
10,000
so? Maybe
licenses.
so. I didn't realize that. So you're saying the 80%, 87% failure rate in the industry, the state doesn't care because they actually make money off of new agents and new licenses. Because when we renew our license, does the state make money?
I don't know, maybe. Do we have to pay money to renew our license? We got to pay money to go to school. I assume we do. I don't know the answer to
So
that.
they might get
You got to pay to go to school.
no, but
you
they
don't
might
have to-
get money
So
out of
the
the
only
school.
licensing fee that we pay is an origination? I don't remember. Bernadette, do you remember?
Does anyone know that?
Bernadette knows.
Takes the license money and it goes into the general account. And they get to use that money and they give our real estate department only a stipend of that money.
Exactly. So when we have more real estate licensees in the state of Arizona, that funds the other projects that the state of Arizona needs to pay for. That doesn't just go to real estate services. So yeah, the government is set up to have more licenses so that they can make more money. NAR is set up to have more licenses so that they can make more money.
We're gonna have to supply, we're gonna have to pay them some other way, or they're not gonna change the rules. Let's just be honest with government is, right? Like they're broke.
The idea of amount of business that you do to create a variable fee, right? Like it potentially could cost guys like us that have 546 transactions a lot more money. Because what if we had to pay $10 per transaction to the state,
I would be,
as opposed to just a license that's equal whether you do business or not,
I would welcome it because it would reduce the competition.
right?
So to me, there's more harm that's done to the consumer because there's no standard and anyone can serve them. And that I think we've uncovered something new that I did not think about. And that is there's benefits to some people for new licensing. Because I was thinking it was all, because NAR benefits from new licensing as well. Like that
Yeah, but
whole,
that-
that training in the.
That house that burned down around your corner that had 3 fire trucks at it, maybe partly paid for by your license, man.
How do you know that? What?
I don't know. Maybe tax dollars, because it goes into the general fund for Arizona that pays for potholes. Like, I don't know what does the general fund pay for? That's not this podcast.
All right,
That's a different
Thing
one.
and everything.
Everything, exactly.
Eric.
Yeah, Jeff, you made an excellent point. I just spent about 100 grand remodeling my house last year, and I have just a little bit left to do. But making videos like 3, 4, 5-minute videos about baseboards or about LED chandeliers or about a kitchen or about master bathroom and shower, people are going to look at us with value that way. And then we can stand out as listing agents because we've helped them build value in their home.
Yeah, I
So
got one
people
this
that sell in
afternoon.
the future, they will use us.
Yes, no, I mean, the thing is, in the future, they are going to use us. But I have a listening appointment this afternoon and he was wanting to know what to do to improve his house to get more money. And that was a video that I created. And yes, good point, Eric.
All right. So Jeff, let me hear it. What's the answer? Are we going to be able to get paid for adding our listings to MLS?
Only if we band together. We will not get paid. We'll be ignored because the reason why we're piping off with this outlandish podcast saying that, damn it, we deserve to get paid more, while everybody thinks we should be getting paid less because of commission compression. But the reality is I just want to be paid for the work that we do. And we're giving more, the elite agents give more to run the system. We're involved in 87% of the production, right? So meanwhile, all these other people, we're funding something that then creates more competitors to compete against the ones that do it and devalue us. And then if we band together, we can create change. Yes, Bernadette.
If you remember about 15 years ago, that's when NAR first sold us out.
Ooh, is that when they sold realtor.com? Is that what you're referring to?
That was what I was referring to, Bernadette.
Which-
In 2006, ReMax, that was his guy said it is.
What's hers? No, ask her. What is it? What did they do?
Well, they sold us out to all these other different companies and
How so?
They opened up our data
put
set.
our
asking
lists-
her.
we put our listings in there and then we got to go buy them back.
Hmm. Interesting.
That's what you're actually doing is buying back your own listing. And there was a group of brokers 15 years ago that tried to argue with NAR and they just couldn't get the other brokers here to get behind them.
Yeah, and I think that the reason is because brokers need to be able to offer MLS to new agents to sell their houses because a new agent doesn't have any money to invest in marketing. And that they want to be able to have MLS to send it out because they don't care that as long as their house sells, we're good. Right. But that takes the pressure off the agent to have value because the value is MLS. But I don't think that that's articulated in the living rooms that the majority of people rely to stick it in. But unfortunately, if that became public, then lots of people would be broke.
All right. Thank you guys for tuning into our podcast today. Thank you for joining us in the live studio
And
audience.
thanks for the feedback. It was great to Eric Hudson. We haven't heard from him. Do you got something to say, Eric?
Yeah,
he's-
the other thing.
The other
the
Eric.
business-
Hold on. The other
Eric,
Eric just pulled his mic down.
We appreciate your
He-
feedback very
Oh,
much.
okay.
I want to
We
hear.
got a new visitor.
I want the other Eric to tell us he's going to bring an arcade game to the potluck.
No, I do not have anything to add to it.
What did he say? No, nothing to add. All right.
I don't
Well,
have anything to add today.
all right.
Okay.
Good to see
All
you
right.
guys.
Thank you. Thank you.